So I'm having a chat with Tom of Plain White Tees. How are you?
I am excellent, man. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, not too bad. Thanks so much. So first things first, you've been releasing a whole bunch of singles, but the most recent one we've been playing is Fired Up. Tell us a little bit about the single first of all.
Yeah. Well, thank you by the way for playing it. That's amazing. Fired Up. So yeah, we're releasing a new album November 17th. And I think that I mean, I love them all, every song that, they're like our babies, right?
Mhm.
But Fired Up, definitely one of my favorites on the album. I love that it's just like it's very laid back feeling, but the lyrics are like so like fun and like amped up. It's like kind of an interesting juxtaposition of the way the song feels. Like it just kind of sits into this nice groove, and it's like very like even the vocal delivery, it sounds like I just woke up or something. But it's like, but the lyrics are all like, yeah, I'm fired up, and it's not, doesn't sound fired up at all. So I think it's, I don't know, just kind of fun. It like makes your ears be like, wait, what's going on? Like, what is this song? It definitely makes you listen. And yeah, I think that it's kind of like a response to, like, after the pandemic and everything that we've all been through. It's like almost like, well, this is my new level of excitement. Like I'm excited to be out again, but I'm not gonna like jump around and everything. I'm just gonna like take it at my own pace.
Yeah, definitely. And as mentioned, that is coming off your new record. It's going to be a self-titled record, but it is your ninth. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect to hear on the record.
Yeah, so it's funny that yeah, after 9 albums, like why the hell now a self-titled, right? Um Mostly because the album cover, like once we shot that album cover and we were like that kind of happened on accident. We were I don't know if anybody just listening has seen the album cover, but it's literally like a black and white photo of just a plain white t-shirt hanging, um I like a look it looks like it's like at a photo shoot with like kind of lights in the background and stuff.
Mm.
And literally we were at a photo shoot taking photos for the album, and I was gonna wear the plain white t-shirt, and our drummer's like, "Oh man, you gotta steam that, man. It's all wrinkled." And so I took it off and we hung it up, and it was getting steamed, and I was like, hey, we should put that over there and take a picture of that. That'd be cool to like, because it just looks so funny just
Yeah.
hanging on this like pole, like it was so important, this plain white t-shirt. And so it's like once we saw it like on the set of like in the little photo, the in the photo studio, it was like, ooh, that's our album cover right there. Like that's so perfect. And it goes really well. Like the our mission statement for this album, like from the writing to the recording, every part of it, and even the artwork, was like to really just try to strip it down to like what is Plain White Tees? Like when someone hears the name Plain White Tees, what does that make them think of? What does that sound like? What does that make them feel? Um, I feel like our music at its best is always vulnerable and honest and catchy and stripped down, not a lot going on. And so we really just tried to emphasize those elements on this album. And so it just made sense when it came down to that cover shot of just the plain white t-shirt. It was like it was just the perfect image to represent this album. And yeah, just by just naming it Plain White Tee, but basically not naming it, just letting it be that image. And Plain White Tees is about as stripped down and honest as you can
Mm.
get. So it just kind of all came together, with those things in mind, for sure.
Yeah, good. And with 9 records in now, how have you and how has the music evolved since the start, what, 25 plus years ago now?
Well, that's a good, funny question because yeah, we've definitely gone a few different, not necessarily directions, but we've never wanted to make the same album twice, or the same song twice for that matter, even though we probably should write Hey There Delilah about 20 more times. But we've done like we had an album called Wonders of the Younger that was like kind of a thematic album, like kind of like thinking back to like when we were kids and how that we feel now, and it just kind of sounds like almost like a little bit of like a theatrical vibe to it. And then we in 2018 we put out an album called Parallel Universe that we kind of went a little bit, we explored a little bit into like a dark pops, a little bit more synthy stuff. And I mean, these are great albums. I love them, but again, as far as the sound evolving, I think if anything, it's all led us here to this album, which, like I said before, I kind of explained it as being like, really like what is the identity, the if you strip it all down, what is the identity of Plain White T's? And that's what I feel like this album is. I think sonically, we purposely left it a little bit raw around the edges. It sounds great. It's a really well produced album, but we kept it rough. We kept it raw. As you can hear in those Fired Up, the vocals of Fired Up. It's kind of like I said, it sounds like I just woke up and I'm just kind of, singing right out of bed. So definitely kind of left it, we didn't want to polish it up. We wanted it to just have that honesty, and that vulnerability that I think, yeah, people appreciate with us.
Yeah, good. And when it comes to the writing side of things, how do tracks normally start off for you?
Well, I mean, it's funny because sometimes there will be like an idea, like, I'm trying to think, um, well, like Spaghetti Tattoo, for example. And that's a song. Actually, the first track we released off this new album, we released that back in February before we were even finished with the album. But that song was definitely like I just went out the night before I wrote that one. I went out on a date with a girl that I'd been kind of talking to like through the pandemic. It was like a kind of a DM situation where it was like, oh, we were kind of talking, getting to know each other, but we couldn't see each other face to face because of, we were in different states and pandemic was happening and everything. So we had finally got to hang out and meet up in person. We had this great night. We like, hung out at a restaurant for hours. It was that situation where we were talking, we looked around and it was like, oh shit, the lights are on. Like we're like the last assholes in the restaurant, So it was just a great night. And so the next day I was still kind of like, still kind of floating a little bit off that great date. And so a song like that was just like, okay, literally just relive it in my mind, all the stuff that just happened and just spill it out into the song, Other songs like, like Young Tonight. You probably haven't heard the whole record, right? Just the
Not yet, no.
singles.
Yeah, just the singles.
So Young Tonight is the first track on the album, and it opens with this little like acoustic guitar riff. And so that song was obviously, I was messing around with that little riff and I was like, oh, this is cool. And wrote the song around an acoustic guitar part. So, it's all different. But yeah, most of the songs on this album were just like, kind of started with just me sitting there with an acoustic guitar and just, kind of letting the moment just kind of take me somewhere,
Yeah. And with the lyrics side of things, how easy do you find it to add lyrics to the music you've created? And I'd like to ask, do you have like a book or memos of plenty of lyrics that you want to try and use in the future?
What's funny is I never I know like, Fall Out Boy, they're from Chicago, buddies of ours. They always do it that way. They're like Patrick or Pete writes all these like journal entries and then gives them to Patrick and he writes them into songs. Like I honestly, I don't think I've maybe once or twice in my whole life have I written the lyrics first before making the song. It always just kind of comes together like almost at the same time, honestly. Like I'll be like I said with that Young Tonight song, it's like I've got this little riff and it's like, okay, you just kind of start like like you just kind of start singing and eventually you're mumbling kind of becomes something, or it sounds like, or it makes you think of something, or like, let's see, the other day I was hanging out with this girl, or the other day like my friend was going through this, and it's like as you're kind of playing, sitting there, it's like you just kind of you realize what you want the song to be about, or you kind of figure out, I guess, what you want the song to be about.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of know, then you just go for it, and yeah, I don't know, just kind of like not that they like write themselves or anything, but definitely yeah, it's not like not really a methodically planned out thing. It's just like, cool, what is this song, or what is this, what am I inspired by right now, what's on my mind, what's on my heart, you know? And then you try to write something that hopefully is sounds good and relates to people, and you know, usually they don't, but every once in a while you get a good one, and then it
Mm.
makes the album.
Yeah, good. And what happens to the music that you've written that didn't make the record? What happens to those tracks now? Do you consider them again for the future, or do you bin them off and start again next time?
You know, usually, I mean, there's like a whole Plain White T's graveyard for sure of songs. Once in a while there'll be a song that kind of like sticks around, you know, like maybe it wasn't quite finished when we made the album, but like everybody loved it. So it's like when we're on, you know, moving forward, you know, somebody will be like, oh, what about that one song? Or maybe I'll keep messing with it and kind of it'll all click, but it'll be too late for that album. So it'll, you know, kind of relive for the next one. Um, so yeah, not you would never like count anything out, but normally there's like, yeah, there's at least twice as many. Even for this album, honestly,
Mm.
there was about 30 songs written, I think. And there's a 13 song album. So, and there's definitely a few that we like, you know, we loved. So I don't know, maybe, you know, in this case, maybe we were thinking about actually doing an EP, because there are really some great songs that did album that like far along than the usual, you know, album process. So in this case, yeah, we might do an EP. Maybe I know on the last album, Parallel Universe, we did like a deluxe edition where it was like we threw on a couple of the demos and a couple of the B-side, you know,
Mm.
I think we recorded one or two songs that didn't make the album. So you know, there's always a way of getting out, kind of filtering out the best ones, and maybe they see the light of day, but yeah, most of them are just like, yeah, kind of dead on a hard drive, never to be seen again.
Excellent. Tom, it's been a pleasure having a catch up with you.
Yeah, great talking to you. And thanks again for, yeah, for playing and you know, liking the stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah.